September 2016, Jupiter comes back online. By Carl Boudreau. August 21, 2016. Website: lightworkers.org. Produced by Higher Self.
Hard August, hard September. September 1st, UT, a solar eclipse in Virgo. September 16th, UT, a lunar eclipse in Pisces. Added to August's mid-month eclipse, these eclipses make up a series of 3 eclipses. On one level, we can be grateful for these eclipses. They are occurring as the power of the mutable T-square is peaking and its energy is shifting. This surge of eclipse energy from the mutable T-square will accelerate the demise of global oligarchy and hasten the end of the gross political and economic inequality that threatens global stability. The eclipse energies will trigger and accelerate karmic consequences for using dishonest and manipulative language. This will further cleanse our politics and economics of toxic rhetoric and hasten the end of the oligarchic institutions and practices that it supports. And that's all to the good. This is a change process we should all welcome. However, we have to admit that the change process has been difficult on many of us. We really need a break. We also need this process to be less abrasive and corrosive and more effective going forward. September's 2 eclipse charts are similar to August's eclipse chart and to each other in most important respects. This would seem to promise a continuation of an energy of which we saw too much in August. Most of the disconcerting influences in August's chart do persist in September's eclipse charts. In fact, September's 2nd eclipse chart looks like it would deliver an especially strong dose of the vibes we weathered in August. And it would do so, if it were not for one crucial factor. Between September's 2 eclipses, Jupiter changes signs. Jupiter's entrance into Libra will significantly alter what at first glance seems like an extension of a rather difficult astrological pattern. And it will do so in a very positive and welcome way. Many of us will consider it welcome and long overdue. September 9th, UT, Jupiter enters Libra for the full transit. Jupiter will leave Libra in October 2017. Harsh side effects. Mutable energies by nature focus on transformations in consciousness. Indeed, since the mutable T-square formed late in 2015, dramatic change has been cascading rapidly through consciousness and at an ever-accelerating pace. In keeping with the nature of the T-square, greater value has been placed on detailed, well-reasoned analysis. Increasingly, people are questioning false rhetoric. Also, deceptive and manipulative language has been backfiring on those who use it. That much is abundantly clear from the results of the recently ended Brexit campaign in the UK and Trump's presidential campaign in the US. Mr. Trump's campaign has depended heavily on sensationalized and deceptive rhetoric, i.e., demagoguery. Accordingly, Trump's increasingly negative treatment by the popular press and his poll numbers are suffering. The overall effects of the mutable T-square have been wholesome and for the greater good. However, it has proven to be rather strong medicine with pretty serious side effects. The non-stop changes in consciousness have been very disruptive, almost too disruptive. Turbulence at the macro and individual levels is blending. Inner turmoil is blending with outer turmoil. At the same time, we are dealing with scarcity and risk. We are feeling uncared for and alone in an increasingly harsh reality, albeit a reality many of us helped create and sustain. We have been enduring these inward and outward challenges largely without the benefit of the greater benefic, Jupiter. Navigating through a perfect astrological storm. In recent dispositor charts, the inner, personal planets have channeled these difficult energies through our personal lives. The inner and outer turmoil caused by the change process of recent years has also taken a stiff toll on our relationships. Recent energies have caused the shedding, or release, of psycho-spiritual baggage. A lot of dark and difficult stuff has been coming to the surface. It hasn't always been easy to process, and it frequently comes between ourselves and other people in our lives. More generally, negative thoughts and emotions expressed outwardly as highly dysfunctional behavior. This in turn feeds our anxiety. We often seem to be trapped in an all-encompassing negative feedback loop. Negativity leads to more negativity, irrationality to more irrationality, dysfunction to more dysfunction, turmoil to more turmoil. Negative synchronicity snowballed. It became hard to know what to expect in a particular situation. As August opened, it was getting hard to see what was holding our society together. As August closes, things do indeed seem about to boil over. The last astrological straw. In these complicated and conflicted times, issues both personal and impersonal are thorny enough. However, a Mercury-Chiron opposition was added to the mix. Because of this opposition, our insecurities and ambivalence are generally closer to the surface. Freudian slips, imagined offenses and garden variety misperceptions are common. The Mercury-Chiron opposition virtually ensured upsetting miscommunications would occur more frequently. The Jupiter-Libra ingress. In more normal times, Jupiter, the greater benefic, would provide our refuge in a storm, our refuge in adversity. Jupiter uplifts, heals, enriches, protects, and empowers. He has a famously light touch, always gently applied, always eagerly anticipated, always warmly welcomed and fondly remembered. For one astrological reason or another, Jupiter has been largely missing from the field. Or, compared to what he is capable of, he has played only a minor, occasional role. It was only relatively recently, when Jupiter transited Cancer, mid-2013 to mid-2014, that he escaped the oppressive leverage of Pluto. He remained under the thumb of capricious Neptune and Uranus. Currently, in addition to the other astrological disadvantages under which he labors, Jupiter has been in Virgo, the sign of his detriment. His benevolent powers have been all but stifled. Virgo is a nearly total black hole for Jupiter's attractive qualities. The truth is that Jupiter has been undergoing tests, measuring his abilities against the difficult side of the astrological coin. During these trials, his energies have been absorbed building strengths and skills appropriate to astrological challenges he was facing, indeed, we were all facing. When Jupiter enters Libra, these new strengths will at long last come into play. Jupiter bounces back big time. Jupiter will enter Libra for the full transit on September 9, UT. The Jupiter-Libra ingress is a major inflection point for the whole zodiac. To understand why, we need to look more deeply into the fabric of basic astrological relationships. Briefly stated, and generally speaking, Jupiter's move into Libra will bring its beneficial energies out from under the many things weighing upon them. Jupiter will also move into decidedly more advantageous alignment with major players in the zodiac. Before September is half over, we will be able to count on Jupiter's enriching, uplifting, kind and empowering energies once more. Positive synchronicity will proliferate in the world. Mutable winter will turn into mutable spring. The additional good news about Jupiter's ingress is that its benefits will be sustained, long-term. The ingress chart, with its positives, will be in effect for the whole of Jupiter's year-long transit of Libra. Also, aside from the particulars of the ingress chart, the positive trends that emerge in it will outlast the Libra transit. Jupiter's big move. So let us look into the underlying fabric of the chart. Translation, some technical astrological stuff immediately ahead. Jupiter Virgo. We know that Jupiter is now in Virgo and generally doesn't express happily there. To begin with, then, when it enters Libra, Jupiter will escape the debilitating influence of Virgo. Its internship with Virgo will be over for now. Though famously difficult for Jupiter, its transit of Virgo marks the beginning of a brand new Jupiter-Virgo cycle. As Jupiter enters Libra, the creative potential of the Jupiter-Virgo cycle will begin to manifest. Their energies will begin collaborating more creatively with each other and with energies of other planets and signs of the zodiac. During the new Jupiter-Virgo cycle, their energies will also manifest in new, surprisingly helpful ways, more compatible with current astrological challenges. Jupiter will display some of the strengths and skills it developed during its long stay in astrological boot camp. It will also remember those who, despite the difficulties, worked constructively with Jupiter's energies on the rough side of the zodiac. Jupiter-Saturn Sagittarius. In Virgo, Jupiter is also squaring Saturn in Sagittarius. Its oppressive situation in Virgo is doubly compounded by a square to Saturn and to Jupiter's home sign and primary power base, Sagittarius. These aspects, too, are especially challenging for Jupiter. Jupiter and Saturn are contradictory energies, and adverse Jupiter-Saturn relations are especially problematic. When Jupiter emerges in Libra, its square to Saturn turns into a sextile. It will also be a sextile in which, at this point in the Jupiter-Saturn cycle, Jupiter will have the upper hand. Improved Jupiter-Saturn relations will continue positive for a couple of years, at least, as Jupiter approaches conjunction with Saturn. Both will then move beyond conjunction into the full, highly creative, Jupiter-Saturn cycle. In the years ahead, Jupiter's cooperation with Saturn will lead to the development of sound and reliable resources on all levels. Jupiter-Sagittarius. The same kind of thing will happen with relation to Sagittarius. When Jupiter enters Libra, it will sextile its home sign and zodiacal power base. It will be able to draw more readily and fully on its reserves of power in Sagittarius, all the more so because of the strengths acquired during its recent training efforts. Jupiter-Neptune. Consider also Jupiter's relationship to Neptune. While in Virgo, Jupiter opposes Neptune, a relatively weak position vis-a-vis Neptune. Before that, Jupiter was in Neptune's native 6th house, under Neptune's control. When Jupiter enters Libra, however, it will be in Neptune's native 8th house. This placement will give Jupiter definitive leverage over Neptune. Neptune will need to expend its powers in the service of Jupiter's more benevolent, down-to-earth agenda. Once again, then, Jupiter's move into Libra takes Jupiter from weakness to strength. Or, put another way, once again, it removes a block and puts Jupiter in a position to exercise strength that has been growing quietly in the background. All of these positives will synergize each other. Were we to look more closely, we would see similar things happening in many of Jupiter's other relationships. Jupiter's Libra ingress, then, marks the moment Jupiter's latent powers begin to manifest and the rest of the zodiac facilitates rather than blocks Jupiter. Challenging relationships will flip, becoming supportive. Jupiter's new but so far suppressed powers will manifest in our lives. As it enters Libra, therefore, Jupiter's power in the zodiac will increase by an order of magnitude or two. Its supportive, healing, uplifting energies will suddenly begin flowing freely into the zodiac and into our individual and collective lives. The overall energies of the zodiac will tip from negative and challenging, to positive and supportive. The Jupiter-Libra-Venus alliance. There is another big positive to the Jupiter-Libra ingress, and it directly addresses another big downside to the recent change processes, growing alienation. The recent change process has put even our most important relationships under pressure. Relationships are breaking all around us. However, the Jupiter Libra ingress brings very good news in this department also. Libra governs relationships and partnerships of all kinds. Jupiter's show of strength in Libra, by itself, will go a long way toward healing and renewing and enriching fraying bonds and creating new ones. Jupiter's Libra transit will help nourish and nurture relationships even more because Venus will also be in Libra and rather strongly placed. Libra is one of the signs that Venus rules. It is a power base for Venus. It is also the sign that, like Venus itself, governs and drives partnerships. More, Venus is dominant in the dispositor chart for the Jupiter Libra ingress. Moon, Mars, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, and Jupiter will also be pouring their energies through Venusian channels, so to speak, serving Venusian purposes. Venus' strong position will enlist the greater part of zodiacal energies in the service of supporting human relationships. It will have final say in how most planetary energies are leveraged during Jupiter's transit of Libra. Jupiter itself will strongly reinforce Venus. Viewed another way, Venus will be abundantly supplied with power and resources in its efforts to rebuild stressed relationships alongside Jupiter. During Jupiter's transit of Libra, relationships will be very heavily prioritized. It would be hard to imagine more auspicious Venus and Jupiter placements for the healing and nurturing of human relationships across the board. The Venus-Jupiter alliance in Libra will powerfully nurture relationships and alliances of all kinds at every level of society on a global level. Healing, sustaining energies will pour into social, political, and economic alliances, friendships, romantic bonds, familial ties and work and professional bonds. All of these will, in turn, enjoy a flood of positive synchronicity, complements of a Jupiter recently liberated, newly restored to power and in close alliance with Venus. Under Venus' powerful influence, warmth will return to our personal relationships. Like all astrological energies, Venus and Jupiter combinations can be abused. However, these energies will be closely supervised by the ever-watchful mutable T-square, still very much in effect. This should act as a strong check on abuse. Jupiter by a hair's breadth. Right now, a few weeks before Jupiter enters Libra, people would be forgiven for thinking we are actually headed for a catastrophe, for unmitigated chaos, in global consciousness. Jupiter will rejoin the action just in the nick of time. Or we would be looking forward to an indefinite extension of the grim conditions we are now experiencing. Despite the Jupiter Libra ingress, the scale of the problem and the nature of current aspects do not suggest a quick or easy resolution of the world's problems. However, Jupiter's Libra ingress will accelerate us in the right direction. I think a corner will be turned in September. I think the worst will be over by September 9th when Jupiter enters Libra. In sum, over the last 40 years and more, we co-created a global oligarchy. We have been co-experiencing the negative effects of that oligarchy for some years now. The mutable T-square is currently helping us co-deconstruct the oligarchy, with considerable hardship and risk to ourselves. Essentially, what we have been doing recently is co-deconstructing the oligarchy and its basis in consciousness as we deal with the rigors of the change process and cope with the damage still being done by decades of oligarchic misrule. For the most part, we have been enduring this difficult reconstructive and transformative process without the benefit of Jupiter, the most powerfully benevolent planet in the zodiac. As a strengthened Jupiter rejoins the game, we should all feel relief and experience renewed up for the future. To a very large extent, co-creating the global oligarchy was about the gross abuse of Jupiter's wealth-building powers. It seems poetic justice that we should endure a lengthy portion of the co-deconstruction phase largely without Jupiter's assistance. The nick of time. Let us hope that we have learned what we need to know about the proper use of Jupiter's wealth-building powers so that, as Jupiter's wealth-building powers become available again, we don't make the same mistakes over again, we don't extend or recreate the oligarchy. Finally, now that it's back, Jupiter will help heal the damage the oligarchy has inflicted as well as the damaging side effects of the co-deconstruction process. Given how matters stand, how close we came, Jupiter's Libra ingress arrived not a moment too soon.